Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission is pretty simple. We slice through all the noise out there to bring you the most essential, actionable insights from the research and books that are, really defining our world. And today, we're getting into something I think is crucial for most of us. We're looking at this paradox where the relentless pursuit of success is actually making us miserable. And more importantly, how finding inner calm might just be the most powerful productivity hack there is. We're grounding this whole deep dive in Chris Bailey's book, How to Calm Your Mind. And his story is, it's pretty compelling because it was born out of a real crisis. Here's a guy who's a productivity expert, right? He was doing everything by the book, meditating, exercising, scheduling everything. And it all led to a severe panic attack on stage.
That moment was the turning point. It's when he realized all those surface level fixes, the self-care things we treat like another checkbox.
Just another task.
Exactly. They were just insufficient. They were treating symptoms, not the actual disease of chronic stress.
Yeah.
So the big idea we're unpacking today is that high performance, real accomplishment, the only way to get there is by running straight through calm.
So no quick fixes. We're looking for the fundamental science-backed strategies. We'll focus on what Bailey sees as the three big barriers, this mindset of more, chronic stress, and of course, digital overstimulation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start at the root of it. Why does trying so hard, which is what we're all told to do, actually backfire and lead straight to anxiety and burnout? Let's unpack this accomplishment mindset.
Well, that sets up this foundational tension, right? We're all conditioned to wrap our entire identity, our sense of self-worth.
Around metrics.
Around metrics, exactly.
Yeah.
The promotion, the praise, the successful project. And that pressure becomes so pervasive that it seeps into every other part of your life.
That's fascinating because it means that things you do for fun, for leisure, they stop being fun. They start feeling like homework.
Precisely. That walk isn't just a nice break anymore. It's fitness maintenance.
Right, you have to log it.
You have to log it. Reading a book isn't just for enjoyment, it's intellectual growth. You're stripping away the intrinsic meaning and just turning everything into another task.
And that framework, if you apply it everywhere, lands you right in what Bailey calls the mindset of more. This just endless pursuit of more money, more fitness, more status. It feels inescapable.
And that's the trap. There's no finish line. The research is really clear on this. Getting a basic level of financial security that absolutely improves your well-being. But happiness levels they plateau after a certain point.
So chasing more beyond that doesn't actually make you happier.
It doesn't. But it guarantees more debt, more anxiety, and more stress. It's a completely unsustainable engine to run your life on.
And if that engine runs on anticipation, we have to talk about the biochemistry. Let's get into this dopamine paradox.
This is so critical. We have this huge misconception that dopamine is the satisfaction chemical. It's not.
It's the wanting chemical.
It's the anticipation chemical. It fuels the craving, the motivation, the search. When you're scrolling your phone or planning your next big goal or checking stocks, you are in a high dopamine state.
But the second you get the thing, the moment you buy the item or hit the goal, that dopamine rush just evaporates.
It does. And you're left with this fleeting sense of contentment. But because the whole mindset is built on that crazy machine, it just immediately pushes you to find the next dopamine hit. You never get lasting calm. You just get this perpetual cycle of dissatisfaction.
And the end of that road, when you're running that engine at full tilt, is burnout. The book defines burnout as unmanaged workplace stress, which is so important. It reframes it as a systemic problem, not your personal failing.
A crucial distinction. The WHO defines it with 3 core elements. Just total exhaustion, cynicism, that kind of detached, negative feeling toward everything, and this profound sense of being unproductive.
So let's talk about the mechanism. The source mentions cortisol. For anyone listening, what is actually happening in the body when we hit that burnout wall?
Think of cortisol as your body's emergency currency for stress. In the short term, you've got a deadline, your body releases cortisol. That's good. It helps you focus, it sharpens your reactions. That's acute stress. We can handle that.
But the problem is when the deadline is. Always.
Yes.
When you never get off the gas pedal.
Exactly. When the stress just never lets up, your body is pumping out cortisol constantly. Eventually, that whole system just gets fatigued, depleted. Your body's ability to even produce cortisol becomes dysregulated. And that drop in output is the physiological signature of burnout. Your body is so drained it can't even mount a response to minor stress anymore.
Which is why you feel that deep, debilitating exhaustion.
And why recovery is such a slow uphill battle. It requires complete rest.
Okay, so if burnout is the destination, digital overstimulation is the superhighway getting us there. This is where it gets really interesting for me. Bailey talks about superstimuli. How is the digital world just systematically ruining our ability to be calm?
It's really a problem of optimization. Our entire digital environment is optimized around the wrong things, neurochemically speaking.
Yeah.
It's all about maximizing dopamine and novelty, which creates these constant heights of stimulation.
And our brains are wired for novelty.
They are, but not on this industrial scale.
So give us a concrete example. What's a digital superstimulus in day-to-day life?
Okay, think about the difference between, say, reading a well-written article for 30 minutes that takes focus, the reward is slow, versus spending 30 minutes scrolling through a personalized TikTok feed.
There's no comparison.
Right. The short-form content gives you these immediate, powerful hits of novelty or humor or outrage every few seconds. It's an exaggerated, refined version of something that's naturally enjoyable.
It's designed to hack that craving mechanism we just talked about.
Perfectly put. YouTube, Instagram, news feeds. They are designed to give you an endless stream of the most engaging stuff possible. And because distraction begets distraction and dopamine begets dopamine, that constant high raises your neurological baseline. Your default state becomes restlessness, not stillness.
So given that we're basically all hooked into this loop, the solution he offers feels pretty radical. Stimulation fasting, intentionally stepping away from those dopamine spikes. But I have to ask, for someone who's already stressed, doesn't that just sound like another restrictive role that's going to cause more anxiety?
That's a great question because it does involve some necessary discomfort. The sources are clear that at first, a stimulation fast feels like withdrawal. Your brain is screaming for those quick hits.
You feel bored, irritable.
You feel bored, restless, maybe a little anxious. But that initial feeling is the point. That's the feeling of your brain chemistry starting to reset.
It's adjusting back down to a lower, more natural baseline.
It is. The fast forces you to be patient. You're breaking that craving cycle and allowing your mind to recalibrate. It's an essential reset.
And it's not just about getting rid of the bad stuff, right? It's also about managing the stressors you can't avoid.
Absolutely. Bailey uses this great analogy of stress accumulating like pressure in a steel drum. You can remove some sources of pressure, the preventable ones, like chasing status. But life is always going to put pressure in that drum.
So you need release valves.
You need release valves. You have
Yeah.
to build habits to cope with the unpreventable stressors, the job, family issues, things you can't control. It's all about managing that overall balance so the drum doesn't burst.
So if the digital world is building up the pressure, what does the release valve look like in practice? Bailey's argument is that calm lives in the analog world. How do we actually start to pivot our daily lives away from that digital rush?
I think we have to start by just acknowledging the fundamental difference in how our brains process these two worlds. Our minds evolved for the analog world, for engaging with our environment, moving our bodies. That's what grounds us.
Right.
The digital world is engineered to do the opposite. It's built to constantly pull our attention to the next thing, which just fragments our focus and messes with our neurochemistry.
Which brings us to what he calls the rule of intentionality. We need a really clear boundary.
That's the rule. Digital tools should only be valuable if they support a goal you already have. Using a spreadsheet is efficient. But analog activities, reading a novel, hiking, learning a craft, you should choose those for their intrinsic meaning.
So the minute the tool becomes the goal itself, that's the red flag.
That's the red flag. You need to reevaluate.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. What are the analog substitutes we should be focusing on? Because just turning off your phone isn't really a plan.
Right, you have to replace it. The book lays out 4 pillars. First is movement. It's simple. Our bodies are designed to move. Regular physical activity is one of the best ways to regulate all those stress neurochemicals we talked about.
The second is social connection, which feels so important now, when we can be digitally connected to thousands of people but still feel completely alone.
That gap is huge. And loneliness has serious, measurable health consequences. Cultivating real, in-person connections that releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical. It makes you feel safe. You just cannot replicate that through a screen.
And then, of course, the foundational practice for all of this, meditation.
Yeah, and meditation gets misunderstood. It's not about clearing your mind. That's impossible.
It's about noticing.
It's the practice of noticing, of focusing on your breath, and then when your mind inevitably wanders, just gently bringing your attention back. Every time you do that, you're strengthening your attentional muscle. You're training your ability to stay grounded.
And the final pillar is being aware of what we put in our bodies. Diet and substances.
The chemical inputs matter so much. Eating whole, nutrient-rich foods can really help mitigate anxiety. That gut-brain connection is incredibly powerful. And then there are things like caffeine. For a lot of people, a simple caffeine reset can dramatically lower their baseline anxiety.
And we have to talk about alcohol.
We do. It's culturally seen as a way to relax, but it often makes things worse in the long run. It can lead to what people call hangxiety by depleting serotonin and GABA, which is your brain's main calming neurotransmitter.
So if we manage to make these shifts, moving from digital to analog, the result is the ultimate counterpunch to the mindset of more, which is savoring.
Savoring is just. It's fully enjoying and appreciating a positive experience while it's happening. It's not just noticing a nice sunset. It's sitting with it, taking in the colors, the feeling. It's the direct antidote to the accomplishment mindset, which is always focused on the future.
On what's next?
On what's next. Savoring anchors you in what you already have, and that is where calm lives.
Let's close the loop on productivity then, because we started with this pretty radical claim that calm is the ultimate hack. So why isn't calm just a nice bonus? Why is it the actual path to better, higher quality work?
It all comes down to cognitive performance,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the capacity of your working memory. When you're anxious or chronically stressed, that anxiety eats up a huge amount of your cognitive resources.
It's like having too many apps open on your computer.
It's a perfect analogy. It shrinks your attentional space.
Mm-hmm.
The limited bandwidth you have for focus and critical thinking gets clogged with internal noise.
So that feeling of not being able to think clearly, that's a real physical thing. Your system is overloaded.
Exactly. When anxiety is high, complex problem solving is incredibly difficult. Decision-making suffers. Deep work is basically impossible. The distraction isn't just your phone buzzing, it's the internal monologue of stress.
So if that's the problem, then investing in calm is just a straight-up ROI calculation, a return on investment.
A huge return. When you invest in calm, you are literally restoring your attentional capacity. When that internal noise quiets down, your full cognitive engine comes online. Bailey argues this lets you get more done in less time because the quality of your focus is so much higher.
You don't need 8 hours of distracted work when you can have 3 hours of deep flow.
And that's it. Calm doesn't slow you down. It makes your time infinitely more efficient.
Okay, but here's the big challenge for anyone listening who's ambitious. If I do all this, if I meditate and savor and step back from digital inputs, and the result is I get better at my job and achieve more, haven't I just created a more sophisticated feedback loop for the accomplishment mindset?
That's a really important question about intention. I think the goal of calm isn't to become a better machine, it's to restore your own agency. The difference is whether you're chasing quality and meaning or just the maximum quantity of achievements.
So it's about choice.
It's about doing the work from a place of choice and focus, not from anxiety and compulsion. If you accomplish more because you're grounded and centered, that's healthy. If you're only seeking calm as a tool to achieve the next thing faster, you're still in the trap.
And we also have to deal with the cultural guilt, right? Busyness is still seen as a virtue. So if I set boundaries and take time for silence, how do I fight that nagging feeling that I'm being unproductive?
You need to build in some structural reassurance. Bailey suggests two things. First, define your daily priorities very clearly so you know what actually matters. And second, and this is critical, keep detailed lists of what you accomplished.
So you have proof.
You have concrete evidence that you were productive. It counteracts that vague cultural feeling of inadequacy and proves that the time you spent on calm was an investment, not a waste.
And ultimately, Bailey's whole journey shows that there's no shortcut. This has to be a real structural change.
That's the biggest lesson. He tried things like CBD oil and other quick fixes, and they didn't provide any lasting relief. It really reinforces the idea that true, sustainable calm isn't something you can buy or consume. It comes from deep, structural investments in how you live your life.
So let's bring it all together. If you want to be more productive, you have to fundamentally change your relationship with achievement. It means setting boundaries, fasting from stimulation to reset your baseline, and deliberately choosing the analog world for depth and meaning.
And practicing the radical art of savoring. The central theme here is that calm isn't a crescendo. It's not some big achievement. It's a winding down. It's a return to our true nature. True abundance isn't having more, it's savoring what you already have.
So since that constant chase for more is built on a dopaminergic life that rarely leads to lasting satisfaction, we want to leave you with this to reflect on. What is one joy or meaningful connection in your life right now that you have maybe unconsciously been treating like a task to be checked off?
Mm.
And how can you deliberately set aside that accomplishment mindset just for today to truly savor it?